欢迎来到蜥蜴社。之前有做一部影片关于奥运跑者变成硬胶女郎的影片，这一部影片呢收集了她3段的采访，谈了她出版的新书，里面包含她为什么要做硬胶女郎，饱受了怎么样的心理疾病困扰，那她是怎么样解决，怎么样走出来的。如果有兴趣的话，就看以下的片段。
44-year-old Susie Favor-Hamilton, she's been in the Olympics. Unfortunately, she never medaled in the Olympics, but she was an Olympic runner. And recently, The Smoking Gun broke a story about how she was involved in this high-class escort service in Las Vegas. Now, it's an illegal business. In fact, they sent out a note to all of their Johns indicating that they have an overseas server. All of their information is very confidential. In the case that the company gets investigated, they will immediately delete everything, so no one has anything to worry about. So everyone knew that this was an illegal business, but 44-year-old Susie Hamilton decided, you know what, I want to get involved in this because I'm going through a bit of a midlife crisis. I'm looking for a little fun. She didn't do it for money, okay? She was making good money. She's living in a $600,000 home. Her husband is an attorney, and she had a very successful real estate business.
Man, this story is spicy, man. It really is. So she getting paid $600 to go hooking on the night. Her husband knows about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now she says he objected. We don't know if that's true or not true, but he doesn't stop her from doing it. And even though, like you said, they live in a $600,000 house, they got a realty business. They don't need it all. She had endorsements. She'd done Nike ads. She's still an inspirational speaker.
Yeah.
And she's all buttoned up, and she's giving the speeches. And then I did this, and I did that. And then at night she goes to the hotel room and $600.
She's doing motivational speeches. Talking to people about fitness, how you can live a healthy life, and then she's doing this on the side. To which I say, let her go.
Oh,
100%. I'm kind of amazed that this is even something that's making headlines. I'm defending her 100%. I know that prostitution is illegal in this country, but just like with this war on drugs, I think we should just stop with the insanity, allow it to happen, regulate it, so women who do decide to participate in prostitution can do so in a safe environment.
Look, not only do I agree with you 100%, I'd go further, but of course the companies are never going to listen to me. So here's how I break it down. First of all, prostitution is legal in Nevada, but not in Las Vegas, so you understand that. Second of all, this is the perfect example of why prostitution should be legal, because in other instances you're worried, were they coerced, did they come from a different country, because there's all the sex trade, etc. In her case, it was obviously 1,000,000% voluntary. She didn't even need the money. It wasn't even like economic coercion or anything like that. She did it for the fun. So she's having fun and making money. Obviously, the Johns had a lot of fun, and they didn't mind giving the money.
Yeah.
What in the world are we doing in their business? That is big government in the worst kind of way. Get out of her bedroom. Get out of her. All right. Anyway.
Calm down. Two things that I found really fascinating. They would never refer to the guys as Johns, okay? Hamilton continued to call them hobbyists. Like, they're just, this is
they
their
have a hobby.
Yeah, this is what they do. Yeah. And she says, look, it's consensual, we were all having fun. But what I didn't like is how apologetic she was when she was approached by the reporter. In fact, this is the quote that she gave to the Smoking Gun reporter. I take full responsibility for my mistakes. I'm not the victim, and I'm not going that route. I'm owning up to what I did. I would not blame anyone except myself. Everyone in this world makes mistakes. I made a huge mistake. Huge. No, you didn't. You are a grown adult. I know it's illegal. Again, that's the caveat, right? But
no, I know, but that's, look, it is a mistake for her financially, societally, etc. That's why I'm saying I would go further than you. Because if she still had any endorsement deals, which I know she had an endorsement deal with Nike earlier. I doubt she does now. But if she does, they're going to take it away from her, and they shouldn't. I mean, like, it's only immoral if her husband, was going to do, like, it was going to break up their marriage, whatever. If that's between them, right? But Nike, everybody, doesn't matter who it is. They're like, oh, hell no. She might lose her motivational speaking engagements. Me, I'd be 10 times more likely to show up to that speech. I mean, that speech would be growing on me. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. I think it's fascinating. She now has a really interesting story to tell. I mean, my guess is she's not going to tell that part of the story. But, they shouldn't take away the endorsements. She should not have to suffer this at all. It's a choice made between adults.
Yep.
But we're so puritanical, like, oh my God, there was sex involved. And look at, I don't want to bring guns back into it. Let's just talk about violence, okay? Overall, without getting into any political issues, right? We don't this is what we flip out over, but I can't do it without talking about guns. But you can have guns everywhere, and that's totally fine, right? And sometimes the gun goes off and kills someone accidentally. Sometimes it's done on purpose, but nobody's going to well, not nobody has any problems with it, but we tolerate it. We got 89 guns for every 100 people in the country. But my God, you had consensual sex in a way that, I think my God didn't agree with 2,000 years ago. Oh, forget, which by the way, that isn't even true in the Bible. There's escorts and hookers all over the place. Read the Bible.
In fact, not only was it consensual, guys would go online and write reviews about her, and she was one of the highest rated escorts in Las Vegas. In fact, let me read you one of the online client reviews, okay? She is worth every penny. I will go bankrupt before I stop seeing her. I hope no one else goes to see her because I want her all to myself. I never thought I would find anyone in this hobby like her.
I love the way they call it a hobby. And the mistake she made was that she told her hobbyists that who she was, and she's like, I didn't think they'd talk about it. Look, I mean, they're probably not going to brag to their wife about it, right? But like, if they have a friend who they believe also sees hookers, they're gonna be like, you're not going to believe who I had a hobby with.
Right.
Okay. Right. And they're going to Google her, and they're going to look her up, and then they're going to send emails with a picture to their friends, and of course, somebody found out about it and they busted her.
You write in the book that being an escort was more rewarding than being an Olympic runner. How is that?
At the time, I had a split personality. So I developed this personality, this persona, and her name was Kelly. And Kelly wanted to live on the edge. She wanted the extremes of life, and she saw nothing wrong with whatever she did. And I saw escorting is the biggest high I had ever entered. I was immediately drawn to everything about it. The craziness, the shopping, the money, the lifestyle. It just sucked me in, and I didn't realize that my illness was feeding off of this.
Yeah, explain the illness. It was, well, you were bipolar, but you were not diagnosed as that.
Right. At that time, I had depression is what I was diagnosed as. It was misdiagnosed. I actually had bipolar, but we didn't know it at the time. I was prescribed Zoloft. And Zoloft, one of the effects, if you're bipolar, is a heightened sexuality.
When you talk about it as a disease, it sounds scientific. But how hard is this to relive and to talk about now that you've written the book?
It's been a 2-year process in writing the book. And that was very, very difficult, very therapeutic at the same time. But now I'm reliving everything again. And that's been very difficult for me. I've had many ups and downs. I feel like this is a trigger all over again. So you have those days that are bad. So I think once the media is all done and I can go back on to my normal life and get back into my routine, which is crucial for somebody with bipolar, that things will settle down and I will eventually get to a point where I can move on.
Yeah. When you were first outed, what was the feeling? Was it a sense of relief? Were you worried for your family? What first came over you?
It definitely was not relief. I was angry. I didn't want to be taken out of this world that made me feel so good. And again, that was the mania that it was fueling. But looking back, I see that as this man actually saved my life.
You feel like you would not be living now if you were still working in the sex industry?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Because I was having to take this behavior to another level. I had to heighten the ante. I had to make the high even grander. And I told myself when I got into the escorting that I would not do drugs. It was kind of this rule I set for myself. But then drugs started to creep in and I thought I'll just try it once. And then once leads to twice. And the drugs definitely would have killed me.
Your husband knew that you were doing this, knew you were involved in this business. He has now stood by you, yet also was enabling you at that point. How do you reconcile that now with him?
First of all, he is an amazing man. And to have stuck by me through all of this was the reason why I am healthy and I'm doing well now. Without him sticking by me, my life would be over. And I wouldn't have a purpose. I wouldn't have my daughter or my husband to live for anymore. He wanted to protect me. He wanted to save my reputation, was what he was thinking about all the time, is who do I tell? How can I say that my wife's an escort in Vegas? This is going to ruin her. So he protected, he did enable, but he tried desperately to get out. I wouldn't listen. I was so caught up in what was going to make me happy and feel good. And that's what I did. And I feel regret to this day. I feel so bad for the pain that I caused him.
Looking back on your Olympic career, there's a scene you describe in the book where you fell on purpose.
Yes.
But looking back, do you ever wonder what it would have been like to be an Olympic champion?
Absolutely. And looking back on that, through all the therapy that I've had in the last couple of years, it's been really fascinating that I look back on that day. If I would have won the gold medal, I truly believe this escorting would have never happened. That was my one focus my whole entire life since I was in 5th grade, that I wanted to be the gold medalist in the Olympics. I wanted to be an Olympian. And I had all my eggs in one basket. I had no balance in my life. My sport was everything to me. So when it ended on that note, I just felt like I had been a failure. And that was the point where my spiral started to happen and I started to go down.
Susie, thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story with us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
As the world now knows, Susie Favor Hamilton, the most decorated athlete in UW history, was living a shocking double life.
Well, Susan Simon sat down with Susie at her home in California to talk about the release of her new memoir, Fast Girl.
Hi, Michelle and Eric. By now, I think most people have either heard or read about the details about what Susie did. She's been all over national outlets this week talking about the 10 months that she spent as an escort in Las Vegas. But what we haven't heard is what her life looks like today and where she goes from here. And that's what we're hoping to share tonight.
It's a very laid-back life. Going to run on the beach every day or every other day, and I do a lot of walking here. I feel very fortunate to be able to transition into this different world. There's Kylie's favorite ice cream place.
She's trying to get our attention.
Are you trying to get us ice cream?
2 years after the scandal that nearly destroyed her life, Susie Favor Hamilton is starting over, building a new life with her family in Southern California.
Having a fresh start at age 47 and age 9, soon to be 10.
Susie and her husband Mark bought a house in Los Angeles that's walking distance to the beach, a move that's so new they're still living without furniture. Susie and I sat down to talk just as the massive media unveil of her new book began. Well, Susie, you are really putting yourself out there. Why are you doing that?
It was really difficult, but I want to so badly help people that don't have a voice right now, who can't speak up about mental illness.
Susie Favor Hamilton seemed to have it all American beauty, athletic talent, a happy marriage to her college sweetheart, and a healthy young daughter. But she jeopardized it all for sex. The tragic result, Susie says, of undiagnosed bipolar disorder.
There's so many things that, as somebody with bipolar, you don't see that you're doing anything wrong. It comes across as very selfish, but you're doing whatever you possibly can do to maintain that high.
Are you blaming what you did on your disease?
Absolutely not. I do not blame bipolar for what I did. I knew exactly what I was doing. But then looking back, also, if I was never on that drug Zoloft, I would have never had the hypersexuality, without a doubt.
How vulnerable are you to returning to this life? Are you cured or are you in remission?
To be real, I have to tell it like it is. To say that I will never struggle, I will never find coping mechanisms that are wrong would be a lie. Does it mean I'm going to go back to escorting? No. But I do know when I'm in my deep days, there's days that are dark. The first thing I think about is, how can I feel good again?
Today, Susie finds healing by being by the ocean with her daughter, Kylie. Does your daughter know your story?
She does. She knows my story. Appropriate for a 9-year-old would know.
Well, when she gets a little bit older, what will you tell her?
Like I said, she knows what happened. She knows what I did. The thing is with Kylie now, the chances of her bipolar are 10%. If both parents have it, 50%. So if Kylie, for instance, did get bipolar, She has the best parents in the world that know what to look for.
Susie and her husband Mark are still married and trying to put the past behind them.
We're fortunate because we've had the support especially from our friends in Madison.
People in Wisconsin are most affected by your story because you're one of us and we are so invested in your success and we have skin in the game when it comes to you. So do you feel like there's anything you want to say to the people in Wisconsin specifically who you may have disappointed?
Right. I think the biggest thing is that I'm so sorry. I always get emotional at this point, but I think if people can take out of this the strength that I've shown, that's a better role model, is somebody who can come from the deepest depths and claw their way out of that and fight and say, I want to have a good life. I deserve a good life too. I'm not going to let my life end because of this. I think that's the true role model.
And as for what the future holds, Susie hopes eventually to do more public speaking. She feels she has a greater message now than she's ever had in her life. But Eric and Michelle, her first priority right now and where she's focusing her energy is being a good mom and a good wife.
Very honest discussion there about what she's dealt with.
She has been accountable for her actions and she sought professional help. And those two things alone will serve her well as she tries to repair the damage from all of this.
Well, we certainly wish her well, and brave conversations for her to share so much with you. Really fascinating stuff. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.